In this video, we're going to be opening up an old school IFAK. So, first aid kit, individual, IFAK, individual first aid kit. So, these are the old school version. So, this was before we really changed things up for first aid. So, we've learned a lot since the times when these were in vogue and, you know, the Vietnam eras and stuff. So, there's a lot of people that say, well, it worked then, it'll work now. Well, yeah, it'll quote-unquote work, but the success rate on casualty care, you know, it has really evolved, not only in procedures, but as far as like the equipment used. With all that said, that's a discussion for another video, or someone who's well trained in medicine, combat medicine, trauma care, and all that other stuff, because that ain't me, that ain't my specialty. So we're just going to unbox this and see what these old school IFAKs have in them, because I got this at my military surplus shop for $20, and there's probably still some good stuff in here that I can actually use and cannibalize. So with all that said, let's go ahead and unwrap this thing. First thing you'll notice is the way that this thing opens up. Now when they're new, they're pretty tight, so it's not really going to be risking snagging on stuff, but you can see how it's basically laid out here. So you have, I don't know if they're brass, copper, or whatever, but basically like a little clamped together spring, or not spring, but wire, and it basically just holds on to these little, I want to call them nipples, so the little nipples here, so they hold on pretty tight, and over time obviously they're going to wear or whatever, but I'm guessing it's like brass or something like that because of the way it'll mark up this stuff. So yeah, I'm not really sure what to do about that. Maybe if you put a little electrical tape on here, as they get older, it'll hold on a little better, but no real good way to replace these springs around. So really, if you snag this on stuff, I've actually had mine, even a fresh one, get snagged on some branches when I was LARPing. So yeah, but anyways, here's all the little bits of information for those of you who care. Let me go ahead and flatten this out for you guys. Alright, so you have it all packaged up here, and here we have the inspection date, the next inspection date, which it probably didn't even make it past. It probably sat in a warehouse uninspected, and it ran past its time. Very similar to standard government policy, but you can see that this thing had been thrown around and stuff, because knowing my experience with supply, they'll just take things and throw them, and that's what it looks like happened here. Is this was not used, and so yeah, it got taken in and out, and this was probably in its own kit, and this was probably stored, and so it was probably sitting in SIF for forever. So yeah, it was made in '05. So yeah, this one's a little bit old, but this is around the time of the War on Terror. So yeah, so this stuff is even coming off the sticker. So we'll open it up here, and really I have no need for the Ziploc bag. I'm not collecting this stuff. I'm cannibalizing it for my own uses. But the outside here, I'll just ditch that. But the outside here, obviously you have an eye care kit, which you could keep this all together if you wish. If you want to keep those instructions, this actually wouldn't be a bad idea to keep around, because I think a lot of this stuff is still good, but the chemicals that are used in here might not be good anymore. But like having an eye patch or something like that, like they have in here, might still be good, and it should be sterile. But I do question the chemicals that they're using to help your eyes. I don't know how that is. I would have to do some research on the chemistry of it and life expectancy. But this is something new, a first aid instruction sheet and stuff like that. This is something I've never seen before, so if you wanted to pause and check that out, you can go ahead and do that. But I've never seen that, telling you like what to do with fractures and stuff, so this was probably made for the Army, or reservists or something like that. Just kidding, sort of. But there we go. For those of you who want to pause and see everything, they got the NSNs and stuff like that, so they can give it away to non-deserving NATO allies or whatever. So anyways, here you have the case. I'm not really a fan of these cases because, yeah, they can get snapped off. This thing definitely got inspected at some point, and obviously the snap came right off, so this thing is pretty much freaking useless now. That's kind of upsetting, but this is what happens. So if you're looking at getting surplus ones of these, make sure that you're only putting stuff in there that you're not going to be messing with. But you can see that this is pretty cheap plastic. It's not really all that great, but we see here the cap wasn't even put on, or it was put on improperly. But basically it's one of those push-off caps. You line it up and push it off, line up the arrows and stuff. So you're going to get a variety of different things from my experience inside these medical kits. So you got a pill bottle here, and it looks like you have right here, what is this? It looks like some gauze, compressed gauze. So this is a step up from the old school stuff. Then you have Band-Aids. I have Band-Aids that are still in there that were basically wrapped up all together, and so each medical kit, depending on the age of it, it might be wrapped differently, which is kind of interesting. So that's a lot of Band-Aids for, you know, little boo-boos. What I use Band-Aids for is not really, you know, for little cuts and, you know, the typical thought of what Band-Aids need to be used for. I use it to hold skin together, like on deep cuts, like this one is through and through. Yeah, I use that. I use something like a Band-Aid to keep it all together. So then we have a lot of Band-Aids here. So you got 18 Band-Aids here, and chapstick, a little bit different, kind of, you know, bright and shiny so you can find it, I guess. A little acting as a sunblock. So, holy crap. And then you got water purification tablets. And usually the surplus stores will run through all this crap, and they'll get these, and I've seen these sold individually for $5 a piece. So you got another pill bottle with another cap. These are actually pretty good for me. I would actually consider cannibalizing them. Obviously clean them out a little bit because storage and stuff, I mean, they just smell like old clothes and stuff that has sat in a warehouse for a while. But these are good because they seal pretty good, but I would put medication on the bottom and then cotton on top just in case of seepage, and also basically to keep the sound down, so if you're out in the field or whatever, tactically sound, if you will. So yeah, this thing is basically useless now because the seal was, or the little cap was busted. But you get here a triangle bandage. I like these, but if you're going to actually cannibalize this, which is still good, it's still good for, you know, making slings and putting over the eyes and stuff, and I like those instructions showing you how you can use it. And you get 2 field dressings, which are in waterproof containers. These are still pretty good to use and still applicable. Not as good as like Israeli bandage, but this is something that you can have in your pocket, and it's very low profile for self-care. So I would take these out of the plastic here because it can get scuffed up, and I would put it in like a Ziploc bag or something a little bit more durable, because just to kind of keep it sanitary if you are going to use it to kind of hold on gauze or something like that, something that'll actually possibly touch a wound. But let me go ahead and get all this dressed up here and make it look pretty. So that's the items from the first aid kit. Let me know what you think down in the comments below, and what you could use for what might actually still be applicable. I mean, 18 Band-Aids, that's kind of ridiculous to me, but I like these things. They're actually pretty inexpensive. The bandages themselves, these ones, these field dressing bandages, can go for like $10 per. And so it's like, it's worth it to actually just get this this whole thing, so you can cannibalize things like the triangle bandages, like $3. And yeah, compressed gauze, that's money right there for any kind of boo-boo. So with all that said, let me know what you think in the comments below, and I appreciate you guys watching. You guys have a good one.